Welcome back to Lesson 5. And let's talk a little bit. We'll review everything we've talked about in the first 4 lessons, but it's also a good opportunity for us to mention, a couple new things, or maybe not even so new. The first thing I'd like to just talk with you about for a minute is that there is such a thing as active and passive voice in English, and that's indicated through the tie in the verb forms. And there is a difference in the relationship between the subject and the action in active and passive sentences. For example, let's take a look at our first sentence. On the weekend, many people eat pizza. There's our shifter. The X word is do. Many people do not eat pizza. Do many people eat pizza? So many people is the subject. The predicate is eat pizza. Eat ties with the subject. Eat ties with the present on the weekend. And here's an example of the no S form. Now this is called an active sentence because the subject makes this action. Many people do this action. It's active, no S form. On the weekend is still a shifter. Is the X word. Pizza is the subject. Predicate is eaten by many people. And the ties. Is ties with pizza. Is ties with the present. And is ties with eaten. Eaten is the DTN form. When we see a tie like is with the DTN form, we know that the sentence is passive. This kind of a tie shows us the action happens to the subject. Pizza doesn't do anything in this sentence. Something happens to the pizza. It's eaten. Let's take a look at another one. Papa Murphy's sells over 1 million pizzas each month. Each month is the shifter. Does Papa Murphy sell? Oops, I jumped the gun on this one. Okay. The other X word place is here. Papa Murphy's doesn't sell. Okay, sorry about that. There's the predicate. Sells ties with the subject. Sells ties with the present. And here we have the S form. This is an active sentence. I know that the subject makes or does this action. Let's take another sentence. Shifter is each month. Are is the X word. The subject, the predicate, are ties with the subject, are ties with the present, are ties with sold. This is the DTN form of the verb. When we see are or is or am or was or were tying with the DTN form, we know we have a passive sentence. So the ideas in these 2 sentences are exactly the same. The only thing different is in the first sentence, Papa Murphy's sells the pizzas. The subject makes this action. In the second sentence, the pizzas, something happens to them. They are sold. Passive. Let's take a look, just one more, and then we'll go on to something else. Someone prepared chicken and rice for dinner last night. Last night, someone prepared chicken and rice for dinner. For dinner last night, someone prepared chicken and rice. We have two shifters. The X word is did. Did someone prepare? Someone didn't prepare. Someone is the subject. Prepared chicken and rice is the predicate. Prepared ties with the past, last night. It's the past form. This is an active sentence. Someone did something. Now, in the next one, chicken and rice were prepared for dinner last night. Last night is the shifter. For dinner is the shifter. And were is the X word. Chicken and rice is the subject. The predicate. Were ties with the subject. Were ties with the past, last night. And were ties with prepared. Prepared is the DTN form of the verb. And now I know that this is a passive sentence. And it's telling me something happened to the chicken and rice. The sentences active and passive may mean the same thing, but the structure of the sentences and the way the action goes is different. Okay, so let's take a look at something else now. Now also another thing to consider is that it's important to recognize shifters because they make a difference in the meaning of a sentence. Excuse me. A shifter says something about the entire sentence, the subject and the predicate, but the same group of words may not be a shifter if they only say something about the predicate in the sentence. And let's take a look at a couple examples. I'll show you what I mean, and we'll also see how the meanings can change depending on our analysis. So first, with no shifter. Mary and Joe live in the United States. No shifter. Do Mary and Joe live in the United States? Mary and Joe do not live in the United States. Mary and Joe is the subject. The predicate is live in the United States. Live ties with the subject. Live ties with the present. And what I know is that the live happens in the United States. Doesn't seem to be significant. But now let's take a look, and I say, okay, in the United States is a shifter, and it really wouldn't matter if I have the shifter in the front or the end, but if I'm thinking that in the United States is, if the United States is the shifter, then let me finish the analysis. In the United States, do Mary and Joe live? Mary and Joe is still the subject. Now the predicate is only live. Live still has the same ties. But what's the difference in meaning? Now here in the first sentence, Mary and Joe live in the United States. Live means to reside, or they have a home, and that's where they sleep every night. They work maybe, but the action live happens in the United States. If we take it as a shifter, excuse me, now we're saying that Mary and Joe live in this place, and that gives a special meaning to live. Live here would mean they enjoy, they have fun, they do many things, they're not bored. But the meaning does change if I consider in the United States a shifter. So for example, is a shifter in the United States, Mary and Joe live. In their own country, Mary and Joe really aren't very happy. They're not having a good time. And that would be the difference. We can see that as a shifter, it changes the whole meaning of this sentence because it's saying something about Mary and Joe and the action they make. When it's not a shifter, it just talks about the live. Let's take a look at another example, see if I can make that a little bit clearer to you. It's not always that easy to see the difference. They are happy in California. So I'm not going to say there's a shifter. There's no shifter. Are is the X word. They is the subject. The predicate. Are ties with they. Are ties with the present. And what this means is they're happy in California. This happy happens in California. Now, if I consider it a shifter, I analyze it almost the same way. They still is the subject. The predicate has changed. It only contains are happy. The ties are the same. That doesn't change. Present. But now what I'm saying is that they are happy in California. So if I take them out of California, they're really not very happy anymore. I'm emphasizing that this happiness, they are happy, only happens in California. In the second sentence, in the first sentence, I'm saying that the happy happens in California. It doesn't really emphasize that they are happy only in California as it does in the second sentence. It seems to be kind of splitting hairs or like a very fine tuning, but it does make a difference in how people understand sentences when they consider something a shifter or not a shifter. And that's just for your future reference as we continue to analyze sentences. That is something to consider, that finding shifters or not finding shifters affects the meaning of the sentence. So now let's practice. Today is a great day, and please analyze this sentence, and when you're done, come back and we'll go one sentence at a time. You check it, I'll analyze it, and then stop the video and go to the next one. So stop the video, analyze today is a great day, and when you're done, come back and we'll look at it together. Is the X word. Today is the subject. The predicate is a great day. Is ties with today. Is ties with the present. There's no shifters and there's no verb. Okay, stop the video, go to the next sentence, come back when you're ready. Oops. Michael bought a Subway sandwich on his way to work. On his way to work, Michael bought a Subway sandwich. Shifter. Did Michael? Michael did not. Michael is the subject. The predicate. Bought ties with the past. Past form. Elizabeth and Larry were sitting on the couch. Now, in my opinion, I'd say on the couch is not a shifter. It just explains where the sitting takes place. If I made it a shifter, then I'd be emphasizing that they were doing the sitting, but I don't think that's really important enough to emphasize. There's no special meaning to add that they and Larry and Elizabeth were doing the sitting. So I'm going to say no shifter. Were is the X word. Larry, Elizabeth and Larry is the subject. Were ties with the subject. Were ties with the past. Were ties with sitting. That's the ing form. There we go. Stop the video, do the next one, and come back. Today, the president gave an important speech. No X words, it's did. Did the president give? The president did not give. The president is the subject. The predicate. Gave ties with the past. And gave is the past form. Okay. Because of fog, the plane had to circle the airport. Shifter. Had looks like an X word, but if I want to make a question, I'd have to ask, did the plane have to circle? The plane did not have to circle, and so the plane is the subject, and everything left is the predicate. Had ties with the past. Had is the past form. Stop the video. Come back when you're done. Lately, the airport has had a lot of bad weather. Has the airport had a lot of bad weather lately? Subject, predicate, has ties with the airport, has ties with the present, and has ties with the DTN form. Okay, stop the video, come back when you're done with the next sentence. The airport has excellent radar equipment. Now, has looks like an X word, but it's not. I'd need, does the airport have excellent radar equipment? And the airport does not have excellent radar equipment, and that makes the airport the subject. Everything left the predicate. Has ties with the airport. Has ties with the present. This is the S form of the verb. The picture of me and my best friends was taken at a shopping center. I don't think there's any shifters. Was is the subject. Was this picture of me and my best friends taken at the airport? At a shopping center? Excuse me. Was ties with the subject. Was ties with the present, with the past, and was ties with the verb taken. This is a DTN form, and actually this is an example of a passive sentence where was ties with the DTN form. Okay, stop the video, come back when you're ready. In a few minutes, you will analyze another sentence. Will is the X word. Will you? Will is the subject. Predicate. Will ties with the present. Will ties with analyze. Analyze is the base form of the verb. I do not like the stores at the shopping center. In my opinion, no shifters. Do is the X word. I is the subject. Predicate. Do ties with I. Do ties with the present. Do ties with like. And like is the base form of the verb. Okay, stop. Do the next sentence. Come back. My neighbor's kids play baseball at the park. Get that up higher. Okay. Now, in my opinion, no shifters. My neighbor's kids play baseball at the park. At the park really just talks about where the play happens. I don't want to emphasize that my neighbor's kids do this action at the park. It's not really my idea. So the X word is do. Do my neighbor's kids play baseball at the park? My neighbor's kids do not play baseball at the park. Predicate. Play ties with the subject. Play ties with the present. Play is the no S form. Okay, stop the video. Come back when you're done with the next sentence. And here we go. My neighbor ate lunch at the park. That's at the park again. Now here, you know, if you wanted to, you could maybe say, okay, at the park is a shifter, but then you'd be emphasizing that your neighbor ate lunch in this place. In my opinion, I would again say, I don't think this is a shifter. It just explains where the eating takes place, not that your neighbor did this action there. So let's say there's no shifter. The X word is did. Did my neighbor eat lunch? My neighbor did not eat lunch. That makes my neighbor the subject. It's between the two X word places. Everything left is the predicate. Ate ties with the past. And that makes ate the past form of the verb. Marty was walking to the water fountain. No shifters. X word places. Subject. Predicate. Was ties with Marty. Was ties with the past. Was ties with walking. That's the ing form. Okay. After school, many people get something to drink on their way home. After school, on their way home, many people get something to drink. I don't see the X words. I'm going to use do. Did many people get some? Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? This is a tough one. I think I'm going to consider this present. Get is one of those irregular. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Get is a. Excuse me. Okay. Do many people get something to drink? Many people do not get something to drink. And that makes the subject many people. The predicate something to drink. And you can see that, you know, it's always important to think about what we're doing, because as soon as I don't, I start to kind of wander off and get confused. So I got to focus on this. Get ties with the present. And get also ties with the subject. And this is an example of the no S form. Okay, and that takes care of our review for Lesson 5. We'll come back, and when we do Lesson 6, we're going to start seeing something new now. We're going to get, again, a little bit deeper into the sentence.